Welcome to the Tech Ranch, live and local here on Super Talk 1270. The latest gadgets, online security, websites and apps, social media, and so much more. How can technology help you? Let's find out. It's time for the Tech Ranch on Super Talk 1270.
And we're on.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, today on the day, it's Monday, Jim.
Do you want D with her intro?
Well, you know, that's what I was
From
waiting
our
for.
studios in beautiful Mandan, North Dakota, along the mighty Missouri River. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
Yeah, you can see we're off to the usual flying start here.
I feel so much better already since Steve threw that in there. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Today we'll be discussing the latest in web TV platforms. Of course, that's a big topic on the show, so we will dig in that a little bit. Also, if you work on presentations, etc., if you like to speak, later in the hour, Mitch Bruce will be on to inform us of the latest in the technology in that field.
You like to presentate.
Presentate is good. We obviously don't like to presentate here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, you know. Yeah. Of course, data loss is always a big concern, and the Guru Squad, not the Guru of Geek, but the Guru Squad will be here with solutions to that. Miss Metaverse will also be weighing in on the AUVSI Roadshow and her trip to the Bismarck Mandan area a couple of weeks ago.
I understand she says some very nice things on Facebook.
Well, she didn't say those to me.
No. Why would she say to you?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Of course, at the control panel, producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, me too. I think it's been like a month since you and I have been in, and I think even longer since you and I have actually been in the studio together.
Well, actually, a month ago, 4 Mondays ago, I was in the hospital with my wife, and she had her knee surgery.
Right.
She had her kneecaps replaced.
So, and how's she doing?
She's coming along a lot better.
Good.
You know, it's not a steady climb. There are fits and starts. You know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and onward and upwards.
Now, you said knee caps, as in both of them.
Both of them.
At the same time.
Well, yeah, she decided to have both done. You know, there's different schools of thought on that, but she decided, and I concurred, that the best thing for all of us, all concerned, was to go ahead and get them both done and rough it out, and then once they start to heal a bit, you know, things will be rather than having to get the surgery and wait a week and then get the surgery again.
Right. So was she actually able to move right away? I guess I've never talked to anybody who's had knee
Well, let's put it this way. After, it was a good week. I mean, they kept her in the hospital for about 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
She went in Monday for the surgery, had the surgery Monday afternoon. They discharged her on Saturday morning.
Okay.
And by the following Monday or Tuesday, she was already moving around better than she had right before she got the procedure.
Wow.
Because she was really hurting when she went in.
Okay.
Because basically, I don't want to gross anybody out here, but if you know anything about orthopedic surgery and bone surgery, the cartilage in the kneecaps, she had no cartilage. It was gone. It was bone on bone.
I see.
And you can just kind of...
Sure.
You know.
So she's doing better, and things are progressing rather well.
Yeah, we're doing the physical therapy now.
Yep.
And I'm waiting on her hand and foot, which she is enjoying way too much.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but you know we were in Louisville, right? I know Marv took it over for me the one day. The reason for that is my wife broke her ankle as we were going in to do our speaking of presentations.
Yeah.
14,000 people going into this arena so we can do our presentation.
Yeah.
My wife and I are walking into the arena in this group of people, and we couldn't tell because we were in this very large group of people, but the pavement underneath us, or the concrete, was broken going into the door. And she
kind of stepped in.
So as a result, we didn't even do the presentation. We had all these people there. Recruited somebody real quick to do just a quick little thing for us, and
was that in Louisville?
Louisville,
Kentucky? Yeah. That's how you say it, by the
Louisville,
way. Louisville,
yeah. I appreciate that enunciation. You know, taking me to school there, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I get this. You and I are both waiting on our spouse's hand and foot right now.
Yeah.
So, but she's coming along very well too, and she's been a trooper. I just hats off to her. I just can't get over it.
Orthopedic surgery, you gotta love it.
Yep. So anyway, back to the real reason that we're here, I guess. So of course, a couple weeks ago we had the road show here.
Yeah, I heard very good things.
Yeah, it went very, very well. We've had an unbelievable amount of press that came out of this thing. We've had over 1,000 published articles now.
Wonderful. From
the Roadshow event and the Trade and Transportation Summit as well. I mean, actually, that was probably the biggest thing. We kind of talked a little bit more about the autonomous corridor, and even Popular Mechanics has picked up on it. So I always, that's something I grew up as a kid reading about, And did you read Popular Mechanics as a kid?
I liked Mechanics Illustrated.
Oh, okay.
Because they had this model named Mimi, and Mimi was always modeling something really interesting, something high-techy in a bikini.
I guess I never. No wonder you would like that. And of course, with the shirt you're wearing today, I really understand that.
Oh yes, I got my Hawaiian shirt.
Yes, yeah. So so that was pretty good, and did a whirlwind interview tour across Canada last week too.
Really?
Yeah, I was on the CBC for 3 hours, coast to coast.
Whoa!
I know, it was just a crazy
do you have
thing.
A tape of that? I'd love to hear that.
Well, it was interviews from Nova Scotia all the way to Victoria Island. So we would spend 10 minutes in one station, 10 in another as we went all the way across. I'll see if I can get a tape of that.
Across the. Well, I can't say fruited plain.
You can't, but it was actually kind of fun to do.
The wheat fields and the coal mines and the junkyards and the highways.
I've never been in a situation. Rinks. It was like a rapid fire interviews, just one after the other that morning. So that was really interesting.
I do believe we have a phone call.
Yeah, and we'll just wait till after the break here because I think we're coming right. In fact, do you want to just roll the break and then we'll?
We can roll the break.
Why don't we do that and then we'll come back to our phone call. So after the break, everybody, we will continue our discussion on the Roadshow, and I believe we're going to be talking about the latest in technology when it comes to presentations and speaking, which, of course, Jim and I don't do very much of. No. So come on back. And we want to thank all the listeners across the country and around the world. You can applaud Jim if you want. Yay! Because I'm sure we picked up at least one more this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yeah. So anyway, of course, we're on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. You can find us on Blueberry. You can find us on iTunes and, of course, on the Roku. And joining us on the phone, business expert and author of Invisible Organization, Mitch Bruce. Mitch, how you doing?
I'm doing great today. How are you, Marl?
I'm doing fine as well. So I hear you have a new book. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the topic?
Well, sure. So, see, my background is that I've built several organizations, and they happen to have been almost completely virtual. And the last one that I was involved in was Tony Robbins' Business Breakthroughs International. I was the president and CEO of that company.
Okay.
And because of our experience, because of my experience in helping to create the infrastructure and the programs, we were able to generate a 300% increase in sales 100% per year, 3 years in a row, and able to handle scaling a company that rapidly, all because we were completely virtual.
So let's just back up just a little bit here. There's a lot of traditional businesses, and why don't you explain a little bit about what virtualization of a business means?
Sure. So let's take an example of a typical company with a couple of salespeople. And let's say, for example, that company runs a couple of local spots on the radio. They get some leads, and the phone rings in their office, and everybody sits around while the radio spot airs, picks up the phone, answers the calls, maybe makes a couple of sales. So that's happening all over America every day, day in and day out.
Sure.
Well, what would happen if instead of just a couple of phone calls, what happens if a couple of thousand phone calls came in that week?
Okay.
What do you think the average company would have to do to handle something like that?
Well, of course, the first thing you'd want to do is staff up and everything else to handle the volume of calls you got coming in.
Sure. So do you think you'd be able to put all those people in that little office that we had just talked about a few minutes ago?
Probably not. No. You've obviously been to our studio here.
Exactly. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about creating an environment where you could literally turn a switch and within 24 to 72 hours have all the facilities ready to take thousands of phone calls from all over the country, all being staffed by professional salespeople, and without trying to hire some agency or call center to do it. And the reason you could do that is because of the power of implementing virtual systems. Now, virtual is a catch-all name. Would you mind if I explain that a little bit?
No, that'd be fine.
Okay. So with the name virtual, what that kind of means is that not really there, but there. So if you could think about, and this is the same basic structure that we had before, is we had hundreds and basically 100 salespeople and coaches and consultants, hundreds of them all over the country, all sitting in their home, all taking phone calls and making phone calls with clients while we ran a nationwide radio program that generated 3,000 leads a week. And the only reason we were able to do that is because of the powerful systems which we employed that let people not only take those phone calls, but let our management team monitor the results down to the very last ring on each phone and how quickly people picked up and how long they spent. All that's possible with the virtual environment that we set up.
Sure, and I mean you could take that to another extreme too when it comes to, you know, giving another analogy here, I guess, but with websites. And you know, if you're serving your own website and you're or hosting on a platform that can only handle so much traffic, and all of a sudden something happens where you just get bombarded with it. A lot of times that creates serious issues for companies, for web hosting scenarios, that type of thing. So, you know, virtualization there means that you're elastic so that your website can, you know, handle the extra traffic and that type of thing too. So you're right, that term can be utilized across many spectrums here.
Exactly. So what my book focuses on is something that most people don't talk about when it comes to virtualizing a company. My book, I think the first third of my book is all about the mindset of the CEO.
Okay.
Because the reason I focused on that is because it's what prevents most companies from really embracing the incredible benefits of going invisible, as I call it.
Okay.
So the key takeaway here in terms of mindset is that most CEOs are used to having a physical company. And you've probably heard the term MBWA, have you not?
I have heard it before, absolutely.
So that means management by walking around. And I was very good at that in the old days. I would walk around my company and I would check in and sort of see what's going on and get a feel for how people were doing. And, you know, it was the way that the only way we really had, 10, 20 years ago to manage.
Sure.
And so what MBWA has done is it's given CEOs that feeling of security, saying, well, I know everybody, and I know where they sit, and I know when they come in the morning, and I know what they do. Well, in a virtual organization, it feels, at least to CEOs who are just getting started with this, it feels uncomfortable to be moving away from that possibility.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. So where do we find your book, Mitch?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
And it's called The Invisible Organization.
Okay.
And it's currently, and it's going to end, I believe, tomorrow. It's currently available for 99 cents.
Oh, wow.
During the promotional period.
Okay.
So after that, it's probably going back up to whatever price Amazon and the publisher set it for.
Sure.
So
okay.
If people like it, go grab it.
Yeah, and I'll actually post a link to that on the Tech Ranch as well. You and I will maybe discuss, or the agent that I worked with to book you on the show, get that address so we can post that on the Tech Ranch. We really appreciate you being on the Tech Ranch, Mitch.
My pleasure, Mahal.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right, and we'll move back to the road show. So, did you get a chance to see any of the stories that came out of the road show?
I haven't seen any of the stories, no.
Okay. There were some cool things there. We had, of course, drones. You know, you got to have drones.
I know you had the driverless car in town.
And then we also had, probably the biggest thing to me was something that comes out of Fargo, Thundar. Did you hear about Thundar?
Thundar the Barbarian?
Well, it's Thundar the driveway snowplow.
Oh.
So I was just watching footage of this last night, and yeah, it's like a little snowplow, and they have this competition on moving snow, and of course,
Yeah.
the visual of Thundar is just like what you think. They had the horns coming out of the front of it, and it was brown, just like a bison or a buffalo would be. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it was just funny. But the plan of this thing is that I'm sure you've seen the robotic vacuum cleaners. Like I always forget the name of it, the Robu or
the one that buzzes around, looks like
Right.
a flying saucer.
Right,
kind of
exactly,
thing, and it
exactly.
buzzes around and bumps into
Yep.
things.
And so when it goes back, or when it knows that it's about ready to run out of a charge, it actually goes and it's called nesting. So it'll nest and then it'll charge back up and then it'll go back out. So that's what Thundar and other similar snowplows are going to do in the future. So they'll have some type of sensor on them that'll let them know that it snowed. Okay. And if it's like an inch or two, you can program it so that at 5 in the morning or whatever, it'll just go plow out your driveway.
All
okay.
right. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the other thing that's cool about it is that when it's like snowing a lot or if we're in a blizzard or whatever, and it senses that it snowed an inch or two, it'll just continuously plow your driveway to keep it open all the time.
I love it.
It is really a pretty cool deal. It was heavier than I expected, but I suppose to move a lot of snow, you need to have a little oomph behind you too,
Yeah.
So you got that, but I thought it was pretty clever. Of course, we had some drones. The other thing that amazed me, there was a drone there called the EBEE. EBEE. It's a fixed-wing aircraft. Weighs about 1.5 pounds, and I'm sure you've seen like Nerf before, or styrofoam.
Oh, yeah.
That real thick styrofoam type of stuff. That's what this thing is like, okay? But just
Kind of
think...
spongy.
Yeah, but it had a little more hardness to it, but it was just lightweight like that,
All right.
So I'm trying to give you. It's actually maybe it's more like that packing styrofoam that you'd see, but I'm sure there's
Like the styrofoam peanuts.
Yeah, exactly. And they put it up in, I'm going to guess 20 to 25 mile an hour wind. In fact, we were pretty sure there was no way that this thing, I mean, you think about this. If you threw 1.5 pound piece of styrofoam in the air in 20 to 25 mile an hour winds, what do you think would happen to it?
It would disappear very quickly.
Very quickly. It would be gone,
wind,
right?
Literally.
Yeah. So they pre-programmed this. They knew that they couldn't really fly it, but they knew that they could have the computer fly this thing.
Right.
And it went up 300 feet, and it went back and forth, surveilling the area.
Did you have like a camera? Were you able to watch?
I can show you right now.
Please do.
It was amazing, Jim. I'm still blown away, obviously, by this. This happened 2 weeks ago, and I still talk about it all the time because I have been out flying drones in wind and have crashed drones because it's too windy to handle it. So I was amazed by this piece of styrofoam that looks like a little plane that flew around like that.
Have you seen some of the videos, by the way, of the storm in Texas and the flooding?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Have they actually recovered anybody or found anybody using drones? Do you know?
I haven't heard the latest on it. No. I know we did post a story on the website last week, around Friday of last week, and it's probably still there. If folks want to look at it, supertalk1270.com. Just look for the story about the drones in Texas that were taking the aerial photographs of the flooding.
So the FAA gave them special emergency permission to do that,
I
correct?
suppose.
That's exactly how it was.
Okay.
And then they allowed them to go out and start surveilling to find people that were caught up in the floodwaters.
Sure.
So, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of great things about drones. I mean, I know we talk a lot about some of the privacy issues and things like that, and I certainly get that, but some of the good things that are going to come out of this is just incredible, really, when you think about it.
Technology's a tool. You can use it for good or evil.
That's right. Hopefully 99.5% or 99.9% of the time it'll be good stuff, right?
Well, I sure hope so.
Yeah. That was cool. Of course, we were in the Gulf Dome, so we flew some drones inside there, and that was kind of fun. I think the students had a blast watching these things fly around in there. We had a lot of students show up, so... there was a lot of cool stuff. That's for sure. Trying to think of what else that we've seen that day. There was one drone in particular. I think it's called the Inspire that had kind of this retractable landing gear. So it went up. It was a quadcopter. So as it went up, it would, this landing gear the wings would actually kind of go up above it.
Yeah.
So the camera could hang below it, and it would have unobstructed view, 360 degrees. So there was nothing in front of it, And of course, when it landed, this thing just dropped back down again. It was actually pretty slick. I thought that was pretty cool too. A lot of talk on agriculture. A lot of talk on pipeline surveil, of course. Heard a lot about those type of things. So yeah. Did you have any questions at all about the event, or putting you on the spot here? I know.
I'm really sorry I missed it. Now, do we have any videos or any?
We do actually. Yeah,
and taken from the event.
We actually have a whole series of videos that are currently being edited. Some are on the website cnatca.com.
I would like to link to those from the.
Why don't we do that?
Site.
That's a great idea. And
Not
I'll do
today,
this.
but in the near future.
Yep. So people can take a look at those and see. But that's great. Yep. So. All right, everybody, I think we're at the break here. So after the break, we'll continue our conversation with Miss Metaverse. And we also have Ahmed Amin coming in from the Guru Squad to talk about data loss or data loss, whatever you want to call it. So come on back, everybody. And, of course, now we're to the busy part of the show. Jim, again, you and I just haven't been in the studio together. And you can tell this. We're laughing and having too much of a good time today.
Too much fun.
Yeah, because we just haven't, we're sharing jokes and things that we haven't had a chance to do that for a while.
Well, no, all I said was one of our guests here coming on was asking what kind of format we have for the show.
Sure.
Is it like a question and answer? I said, well, there's definitely a stream of consciousness feel for the whole program.
And, of course, you and I are both laughing because generally we're unconscious during the show.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. So, yeah, speaking of guests, of course, we have Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino, on the line. How you doing, Katie?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Marlo?
Doing fine as well. Now, we're just going to put you in the background for a little bit, but if you have a question or two, feel free to pipe in, because also joining us is Ahmed Amin from the Guru Squad. So, Ahmed, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing this morning?
Well, obviously we're conscious, so I guess that's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah. So
Monday morning.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. So we have you on because we want to talk a little bit about data loss. I'm not quite sure how you like to pronounce it, but why don't you tell us a little bit about data loss and how it's impacting companies?
So data loss has been a major concern for a lot of companies, and they've always been battling this issue. It's mind-boggling, we're in 2015, and not only small businesses or medium-sized businesses are suffering, but enterprises as well. I mean, EMC released a study that showed $1.7 trillion was worth of the data loss that their customers or customers in general encountered in 2014 alone.
So that loss, is that due to the cost of recovering the data that's been lost, or is it just a combination of the loss of value to the data, or where's that number coming from?
So that basically, it's multiple factors. You've got time to recover the data, data that's irrecoverable. It's also monetized. You've got time spent. The fact basically when you lose your data, and let's say you're restoring it, there's quite a bit of time before you bring it back up. This impacts business.
Absolutely. And I'm just looking over the white paper that you guys had put out. There's another number on there that's absolutely amazing. 4.6 million instances of data loss each year. So that's a big number.
It's huge. And unfortunately, a lot of, I would say, IT leaders or IT professionals, even home users, they've got their pictures or whatever you want to back up or replicate. They don't think of it all the time until it hits. So it's always a reactive decision.
Right.
When you lose your data. And unfortunately, when you lose data, you don't know what you're going to lose. It could be as simple as, if you want to give it a metaphor or a way to look at it, are you losing your wallet or are you using a pencil?
Right.
If you lose a pencil, it's easy to replace, but if you lose your wallet, you're in a much bigger nightmare.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously, you discuss a lot about solutions to this issue. So how do we go about preventing data loss?
That's a great question. So Guru Squad, originally, we were, in the IT consulting business. And we saw one thing was one company after another, it could be just the word of mouth, where they wanted to migrate data, replicate it, back it up somewhere. Storage nowadays is very cheap. So a lot of people, a lot of businesses or home users, what they do is they just buy an external drive or an external SAN or NAS or whatever have you, and start replicating to it their data. So it could be in a different data center.
Sure.
We came up with the GS Rich Copy 360. It runs as a service. It does multi-threading, open locked files. In the past, data replication, the storage was expensive, but now it's cheap. However, data replication software itself, still remains expensive if you want to look at the enterprise grade.
Right.
So what we've done was we spent a lot of years developing this, and our mission was not to make it just affordable to enterprises, but we wanted to do it something for large, medium, small businesses, even home users. And we've got customers as big as AT&T, Department of Homeland Security, to small law firms. So the customer varies.
Okay.
And it works out to be great for all of them because they just replicate their data, whether it's an external storage, external data center, cloud, it doesn't matter what it is.
So where do we find you online?
So we are at gurusquad.com.
Just like it sounds, gurusquad.com. Yeah, I love it. Guru Squad, Guru of Geek. I mean, I'm just loving all that today, Jim.
Now, don't confuse them with the Geek Squad. That's something entirely different.
That's correct. Yeah. So, Kay, do you have any questions for Amit?
No. I mean, actually, one thing I was curious about is, what about for the general public? Do you have any advice for people in their personal lives to keep their data, just basically back everything up? I mean, do you believe that we should be backing things up in the cloud, or what about our personal lives?
Well, so here's the deal. Backing it up somewhere is important. A lot of times when you back it up to the cloud, unfortunately with the cloud, the internet provider sometimes the internet line might not be reliable enough in case you've got large files, large pictures, music, movies, whatever you want to try to back up. If you can get suspended, if somebody else gets access to your data. So a lot of times it's good to have it on site as long as, it's a debatable question. But backing it up is definitely very important, especially, some of these files they might not be business value, but they might have some other sentimental values where, much more expensive to the person. So backing it up somewhere is important.
So do you subscribe to maybe a multiple backup scenario where you use both cloud technologies and maybe like an external hard drive in the home or business?
That would be a very ideal solution. To be honest, that's what a lot of enterprises do these days. They replicate somewhere and put it off-site, but also they replicate it somewhere close, so that way in the event they want to retrieve it, it doesn't take as much time.
Yep. So have you actually had experiences? You really brought up another question for me here with like ISPs that limit. Let's say I want to back up a terabyte someplace. Your local ISP isn't going to be real excited about that. Of course, have you heard of accounts being suspended because they're moving too much data?
Absolutely.
Really.
The number one issue that they come up with. Not all ISP providers do that, but a lot of them do, and some of them do. Basically, they would come up with the excuse that you're being compromised, or you could be sending a lot of data out. We're going to have to move you over to the business level, and they start basically giving you the business sales pitch.
I see. That's very, very interesting. So, again, Ahmed, how do we find you?
So we are at gurusquad.com.
Okay.
Come over. We're basically running a promotion. We usually sell for $79.99, but right now we're offering it only for $59.99, so that it's affordable to everybody.
Okay.
Most replication software, to be honest, these days, enterprise grade, I'm saying, they run for at least $1,000 a license.
Okay.
So we're offering as much as possible to help everybody out.
All right. We really appreciate that. Go over to GuruSquad.com and get that deal, of course. And if you have any other questions, I'm sure Ahmed would be happy to take those via their website, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Appreciate it, Ahmed. And I'll have that link on the Tech Ranch as well. So thanks for being on the Tech Ranch today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, you betcha. And Katie? All right. So we're going to have to talk a little bit about your trip here.
I know. I can't believe it. I can't believe I've been home for so long already.
It does feel that way.
Right?
Yep,
Crazy.
it does. And of course, Jim is, still upset. He's still kind of in mourning, actually, wearing this black shirt and everything today because he didn't get a chance to see you.
Oh, I know. I was totally hoping that we could have, gone out and had some fun. But you know what? I hope to come back soon.
Well, good. That's great. So we just have a couple of minutes before the break here. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you thought of the Bismarck Mandan area?
I really didn't know what to expect because, when you think about different places and whatnot, I didn't know what North Dakota was going to be like. And being in Bismarck was great. The people were very, very, very friendly, and I loved all the questions and how interested people were in my presentations and everything. It was great. There was a lot of great feedback, and it was great to meet everybody. I had a really great time.
That's great to hear. And, of course, we have one of your favorite restaurant, whatever you want to call them, here that you don't have there anymore. So did you get a chance to get to the Dairy Queen?
You know what? I was so sad that I didn't get to go to the Dairy Queen. But,
no!
I know. So
I thought they were going to take you on the way back to the airport.
I know. And we're totally running late, and I was hoping to get Dairy Queen, but it is what it is. But I do feel I do have a new love now. Originally, I was always a Starbucks person.
Okay.
I always drink my Starbucks, but
sure.
I have to say, Dunn Brothers.
Wow.
Dunn Brothers is where it's at.
Wow.
I have converted. I'm very jealous that you have a Dunn Brothers there, and I really wish that we had one here in New York.
Jim, I'm thinking that we're going to have to talk to some of these businesses around here. They need to be sponsoring our show.
Yeah, we're going to have to
obviously.
franchise out and see if you and I can get a piece of the action.
I'm thinking so. Yeah.
Those the cinnamon twists. Oh my goodness, yeah. Those are legit.
Definitely.
Boy, we're really getting into tech talk here now, aren't we?
I know.
That's
I know.
funny. So anything else from your trip here that stands out before break?
Yes. It was so great being at the Bismarck, the Energy Center. It was great seeing you guys had the photovoltaics, and you have a lot of renewable energy. I saw that you had a windmill, which is great. It was great. It was great to see everything, and it was great to see progress and interact with everybody. And it was a great trip.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So, all right, everybody, after the break, Katie and I will be back on, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the road show, and so we can wrap that up this week. So come on back. And joining us on the line, Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino. Welcome back, Katie.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. I am super happy to be here.
It is. We got like the old team all back in here because Jim and I don't think we've been in the studio for like 5 weeks. And, of course, we had Scott in here, and I think Larry was in here one time, too.
Where's the geezer?
Yeah, the geezer hasn't been around at all.
Yeah.
We need to get him back here. He probably thought that we've just forgot about him.
I'm here. It's a financial pleasure to be in the building.
So he's back. Look at that. So it's been interesting since the Trade and Transportation Summit. And I will say it probably would have been nice to have more people at the event, but what's been crazy is all the media, all the news stories that have come out of it. And I know you and I have been following some of this a little bit, and it is kind of funny how reporters or whatever pick up on different things, isn't it, Katie?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm just looking at it. I was going over with Jim that if you type my name in Google with autonomous behind it, and you see all the different stories that have come out. And we have never, ever called the autonomous friendly corridor a driverless truck corridor. Ever. Have we ever? call it this. But that has been that's the biggest thing that came out of this. We talked about how we would be making Highway 83, possibly autonomous friendly, including for truck traffic. And the media has just gone crazy about this. And, we've had interviews, through Canada, United States, Mexico, London. I mean, it's just amazing what has gone on with this particular possibility. So have you followed this at all, Katie? And are you familiar with the autonomous corridor that we're proposing?
Yes. I mean, being at the conference, it was the CNATCA event was, very much focused on this future corridor. And I have to say, it was really, really, really great to see how much feedback and how many people were really discussing how this will likely become a reality, and whether that's a good or bad thing. A lot of people had their different views. Even on Twitter, we had a lot of feedback on people who were commenting on a lot of pieces that you were actually quoted in, concerning the possibility of this future autonomous corridor.
Right. So what's your take on this? Do you see something like this kind of being that footprint to the future?
Well, yeah, I think there's been discussion about there being a superhighway from Canada to Mexico for the last 10 years.
Now, I'm going to stop. I have to stop you right there. Now, that's one of the things that have been misquoted about this. We're not building any new highways, by the way.
Right. Okay. So that's the thing that's been very confusing, is the way that people are talking about it.
Right.
And that's what we have to clarify too. And I agree with you. I think that we have to clarify that no, this is not about building a new highway or anything like that. It's about using autonomous vehicles to carry goods and services and things like that.
I think Jim has a quick comment.
No, I was just going to say we have a serious issue with infrastructure, but that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Right.
Oh, here's you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay. So we didn't mean to interrupt you there, Katie. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that we should, look to, I think that autonomous vehicles and trucks, especially, with different abilities to save money and resources, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing. I think people need to be a little bit more clear and have a better understanding of what we're saying. Like you're saying before, it's about utilizing this technology. We're creating a new feature. We're creating a new way of transporting goods and services, and I think that is really going to come into play soon. I think that it's very likely that we'll see these autonomous trucks carrying a lot of these goods and resources up and down this corridor, and I think it's a good thing. I really do. I think that there needs to be more information out there about it instead of just talking about the. I think a lot of people like to kind of sensationalize.
Right.
Things, right?
And there has been a little bit behind this, and that's what we find kind of interesting. Is that and we probably do the same thing on this show too. We find things that we like and we think about how it can benefit us and maybe sensationalize it a little bit ourselves. But we've really run into this with this corridor because there's been a lot of speculation that we're actually building a new road, and of course people are like, well, if you're building a new road, why don't you just build a railroad and be done with it? Because so we've had that speculation a little bit, but what about on the job side? That's the other thing that we're getting a little bit of feedback about, is that we're going to eliminate a lot of jobs. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't believe that just because we have autonomous trucks that we're going to be losing jobs at all. There's always going to be a need for people to watch over and be involved with the same way it is now. The only difference is that, first of all, the autonomous driving, the self-driving technology will just make the jobs better. I really think that. I think that, a lot of it will have to be overseen by a human, by a person. And that's going to continue. If anything, I think it's actually going to create more jobs because of the way it's going to be connecting everyone in this whole scenario, from Canada to Mexico and, of course, us here in the U.S. I think it's a good thing. I think it will bring more jobs and easier jobs also.
See, I feel that way too. And of course, for the foreseeable future, there is somebody in the cab. It's not like, this truck is driving down the road with nobody on it at all. It's just that the truck itself kind of takes over, so you don't have to worry about the driver becoming sleepy, maybe trying to concentrate on other things instead of driving. You get that phone call or text that comes in, or you're thinking about something else going on. All that goes away because the driver isn't really engaged so much in the driving part of it anymore. Because the vehicle takes over. So it's like a mobile office where, when the vehicle takes over the driving part, that the driver can concentrate on some other things. And then when the driver has to take over, that person is more alert at that time. So I just think that there's a huge safety thing with this. And when I say safety, I mean for the better, as in really good for the better.
Right, exactly. And look at, even look at airplanes, too. That's like saying, because airplanes can fly themselves, that we won't need pilots anymore. And we've had that technology. A lot of flights that we'll go on each day. I mean, a lot of flights are mostly operated by machines. I mean, if you really think about it, a lot of planes are already mostly autonomous for the most part. I mean, sure, there's landings, takeoffs, but they can, like you were saying the other day, Marlo. I mean, planes do. There are flights where you could be on a flight and you don't even know that it's basically autonomously taking off and landing on its own, and then the pilot turns to you and says, "Hey, how'd you like that? Autonomous landing?"
Right.
And you're like, "What?"
Yep.
So it's right here, and we still need pilots, and we'll still need drivers and people involved. So it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it actually increases, the likelihood of creating more jobs because there's going to be needed people for this technology. Everything from mechanics. In fact, I was just talking to a shop that works on trucks here the other day, and because of this, they're like, are we going to have to hire IT people now? And our IT and mechanics are going to have to work together?
Good question.
And that's the truth. That's exactly what's going to happen here.
Right.
So, yeah, I just think that it's a great deal. We'll probably start moving more products because of this. Make our roads more efficient and more safer.
Exactly, and we also had a comment on Twitter the other day. I think somebody said, but shouldn't we not be focusing on oil or something? Do you remember that comment?
I don't know if I've seen that.
Somebody wrote a comment basically saying, doesn't it seem counterproductive, to be transporting oil through this autonomous friendly corridor?
Oh, gotcha.
And it's there's. Just to clarify, I mean, these trucks are going to be transporting a lot of things. It's not going to be just oil or anything like that. I mean, we're going to be using, I'm sure a lot of companies and organizations will be using these trucks for all kinds of resources and goods.
Right. And actually, I don't think you'd see a lot of trucks moving oil a long distance because it's not economically feasible to do that. Short distances probably, but not long distances. Where I see that is more in other commodities like grains, food, that type of thing, that we have bottlenecks in our part of the world now. So
right, don't trains move most of the oil anyway?
They do, yes. Trains and pipelines, yep.
And one of the things I saw in North Dakota that was just mind blowing. I mean, me being from New York, of course we have trains, but a lot of that's actually for transportation. We don't get to see the actual movement of resources and things like that here. But being there, I mean, we saw this one giant train that was going through Bismarck, and it must have gone on for like an hour of just oil on these huge trains, and it was amazing to see. I mean, I couldn't stop watching it. I was like, wow, this thing goes for miles and miles and miles. It's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of coal, too.
A lot of coal, yep.
Oil
all right, everybody, we're at that time. Appreciate it's great to be back. Jim, great to see you back in the studio as well.
I'm sure.
Katie. And again, this time next week, everybody, join us for another episode of the Tech Ranch.
Keep that stream of consciousness going.
Yes, definitely.